everybody. Sorry for the hand. Talk to the hand. Hi everybody. Kathy Brooks here in the Canine Concierge Transport. Talking about dog food. I have been talking a lot today with people about canine nutrition, and you can see here I've got a big bag of Taste of the Wild on the seat next to me here. I've got a bag of Primal Pets down on the floor here. That is what my kids eat. I got them on a grain-free diet, so we've got Taste of the Wild for their kind of main kibble, and Harlow eats mostly Primal Pets, but I get a little Primal Pet topper on the food for the rest of them. So, what should you feed your dog? How do you know what to feed your dog? So, for me, there are a couple of absolutes when it comes to what my dogs eat. There are just a couple of absolutes, though. Once you get past the broad brush strokes of what absolutely should not be in dog food and what absolutely should be in dog food, it really becomes personal choice. There's some people who have their dogs on gluten-free diets, on vegan diets. Does the dog need it? Chances are likely no, but I mean, there's one person I know who has their dog on a vegetarian diet because the dog has presented with allergies to a lot of different animal proteins, and the process of eliminating which protein it is, it can be onerous, and so they opted to. Then the dog's getting all the protein it needs. It's getting a good, healthy, balanced diet. They talk to a vet and talk to a canine nutritionist, so the dog is just fine. But generally speaking, canines are carnivores. They have these big fangs in front, those big canine teeth that are designed for tearing flesh. Dogs are not designed to be vegetarians. They're not designed to be vegan. They are carnivores, and so as such, an animal protein-based diet is best for them. Would dogs ever eat grains? Naturally speaking, would a dog consume bread? I mean, your average house dog will probably eat whatever you put in front of it, but the truth of the matter is that grains, barring the necessity in some treats and such for a binding agent, the reason that so many dog foods have a high volume of grains in them is because it is cheap filler. It allows them to sell more food and with less expensive ingredients. So really what you want to focus on is a dog food that has as its initial ingredient an actual protein source. So for example, if I buy a food and on the bag it says chicken, I don't want my first ingredient to be chicken meal. I want it to be chicken. I don't want it to be egg. I want it to be chicken. I don't want the third ingredient to be chicken and, the first couple of ingredients to be, corn or wheat or soy. So really, I have my dogs on an almost entirely grain-free diet. Occasionally they'll have treats that might have some barley or might have some rye. Occasionally rice, but very, very rarely. Mostly the grain in my dog's diets is in their treats, if at all, and it's mostly alternative grains. There's some ingredients that you should just avoid. And in some cases, the avoidance is because the dog doesn't need it. It's just nutritionally not that great for the dog. It doesn't do it any sort of behavioral favors. And there are some ingredients in dog food that will kill your dog. Not to put too fine a point on it. Keith Olbermann did a segment the other day about some of the regulations that have been lifted thanks to the current administration, but these restrictions that had been placed on pet food companies that prevented pet food companies from utilizing pesticides or toxic and carcinogenic substances in their food. Those regulations have now been lifted, so companies like Purina and Pedigree and to a certain degree IAMs are now free to use ingredients like BHA and BHT and ethoxyquin and propylene glycol. And if all of these things sound terrible, it's because they are. Ethoxyquin is a pesticide that is used as a preservative in pet food. BHA and BHT also a preservatives. They have been found to cause cancer and tumors, and if you buy milk bones, you're feeding your dog BHA and BHT. Propylene glycol is a petroleum-based preservative that helps some chewy treats stay chewy. So if you're feeding your dog things like bacon strips or sausages, my rule of thumb for feeding anything to my dogs is that if I see the product advertised on television, I don't buy it. Because if they're spending that kind of money for that kind of mass market production, the likelihood that they are shipping product over very long distances that has to sit in warehouses and on shelves for long periods of time and withstand extreme temperature differentials because it's traveling such long distances, the chances are high. In order for the food to survive that, they've got to put preservatives into the food that will allow that to happen. Most of the preservatives that they use are carcinogenic. I would avoid, for the most part, I would avoid meal product in food. I mean, if it says chicken meal or turkey meal or lamb meal and it comes from a very reputable company, it's not so bad if it's, you know, the fourth or fifth ingredient. But there was a class action lawsuit. This would have been, I think, in 2012 with Purina. They were using a meal product, a meal byproduct, or byproduct meal, I should say, in their food. So essentially byproduct meaning everything that's left on the floor after they're done. So it could be wood shavings, it could be dead bugs after the pesticides, you know, the pest control has been through. It could be anything. And then meal meaning it's kind of all ground up and thrown together. And they were sourcing it from China. We all know how great quality products come from there. And and they were using melamine in this meal, and so dogs were dying, cats were dying. And there's a class action lawsuit. Purina lost, and regulations have been put in place. The last administration did quite a lot for environmental protection as well as FDA regulation around food. Both for humans and for dogs, and those things are being lifted. So I would strongly recommend smaller manufacturers. So I mentioned Taste of the Wild. They are owned by a company called Diamond, so they are a larger company, but they run very much like a mom and pop shop, and they are super reputable. They have had some recalls, but they've handled all of them very, very masterfully and very responsibly, got out in front of everything. Primal Pets, let's see where I put that. Primal Pets, these nuggets. So this is a dehydrated raw food. So for Harlow, I take a nugget and I crumble it up and reconstitute it, and then the rest of these guys get like just a little bit of it crumbled over their kibble. The good news about dehydrated raw is that you are getting a real pure protein. A company like Primal Pets, Stella and Chewy's is another very good dehydrated raw. Honest Kitchen is another really great brand. There are a number of really, really good brands in this category. The challenge with a raw diet, though it is probably the best for a dog, is that, so a pure raw diet is messy, it's time consuming, it's hard to travel with it, and it's costly. If you have a larger dog, the volume of food you have to feed them is enormous. Dehydrated raw gives you kind of a good in-between solution. You're still, like, so for a dog like Truman, he would be having, if I were feeding him a pure Primal Pets diet, you know, something like 20 nuggets a day, 20 to 25 nuggets a day, dehydrated, reconstituted. And so you just plow through a lot of it, so it's expensive. But for a very, very small dog, or as a topper on food, as a not an alternative to, but an enhancement for a higher end kibble diet, I think it's a great option. So I personally go with Primal Pets. I used to use Stella and Chewy's, but I had some distribution issues with them. So Primal Pets, I just found that they were a bit more sensitive to the needs of a small business person like me, and so they were great. Primal Pets also has a really great line of chews, of dehydrated like venison and lamb, liver and lung, and they do it in pork and venison and buffalo, beef. I don't know if they have any fish product stuff. I don't think they do. But all of their red meat stuff, and then the pork as well. So they're again a great, very reputable company that takes their manufacturing very seriously as well. So there's a couple of other kibbles that I recommend. I wish I could sell all of them at Hydrant Club. I just don't have the shelf space. So I sell Taste of the Wild, as well as Signature. That's like signature, but with a Z. And here's the thing about Signature that's great. So Signature is, oh, hey, Summer. Signature is a limited ingredient food, meaning that you don't find like their ingredient panel, like some dog foods, the ingredient panel's like really huge. The ingredient panel for Signature is concise, and they are a limited ingredient food, meaning if I pick up a bag of trout and salmon Signature, the only animal protein in the bag will be trout or salmon. If there are additional proteins in the bag, they will be vegetable proteins. So by turkey, it's all turkey. By lamb, it's all lamb. By venison, it's all venison. By kangaroo, it's all kangaroo. So it's a little higher end. Their proteins are all also ethically and sustainably sourced, so the animals are raised healthy, no chemicals, no antibiotics, yada yada. All that's super important. And they're super, and again, they're a larger company, but they're super responsive. Another great kibble that I recommend is Pure Vita, Purvida. It's another one. Origin and Akana are both also excellent higher end kibbles. Origin and Akana coming from the same company, Akana being a slightly lower price point. Origin and Signature are going to be pretty much the same. They're a little on the higher end. When you're looking at a 27-pound bag of food, it'll range anywhere from like $50 to up to $90, depending on which protein. When you're looking at Taste of the Wild, they price by the bag size. So 5-pound bag is like just over $14 with tax here, give or take. And then you're going to get your 30-pound bag for, roughly $48 to $50, depending on where you're buying. So that's all good. What else? I think that's about it. So those are the brands. So the brands that I recommend. Did I finish with the kibble recommendations? I don't think I did. So Origin, Akana, Pure Vita, Signature, Taste of the Wild. Rachel Ray has a kibble out that's supposed to be pretty good. I don't sell it. I don't know much about it, but I know that she has some pretty good ethics when it comes to food and nutrition. Halo is another good brand that I know a lot of people that they like it. I get asked about Blue Buffalo a lot. Remember what I said before? If a food is advertised on television, Blue Buffalo used to be great, and they sold out. Good for them. They made some money, but the quality of the product has deteriorates. Oh, From, an excellent question, Jill. From is, I would put it in the same category as Signature. It's an excellent brand. Another one that has limited ingredient, very well sourced ingredients. What's nice about From also is that they also have a comprehensive canned food line, as does Signature, though I'm less familiar with their canned food. I know a lot of people who use From canned food as an augmentation for the kibble that they use, but it's great. I mean, if I had more shelf space, I would probably carry From as well. In my high end, I would probably do From and Signature, and then Origin. would be my 3 high end. And then if I had a middle of the range, I would do Akana, Taste of the Wild. Yeah, I mean, those are really the two. I mean, that middle category is really pretty broad. There's a couple of newer companies that are out on the East Coast that I'm hoping to check out. The big Super Zoo, the biggest pet retail show in the country, happens every summer here in Las Vegas. It's called Super Zoo, and that's where I get a chance to really learn more about a lot of the brands. The brands that I carry now are ones that I got some good education on early on. You know, Origin. What's also really nice about companies like Origin and Signature and From as well is that they are quite judicious about where they will allow their product to be sold. So as a retailer, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get approval to carry their product. It's not just as simple as having a relationship with a distributor and calling the distributor and ordering the food and carrying it, or even just calling the manufacturer and getting the food. With Origin and Akana, which I did carry early on, I had a couple of members in my first year who were devout Origin users, and so I filled the shelves with it, and then unfortunately all those people moved, and the vast majority of my clients now are either on Taste of the Wild, they're on Signature. I have a couple people on other stuff, so I can order like one-off bags for them as well. On the dehydrated front, you know, I used to use Stella and Chewy a lot. I really liked them. I had a weird experience with the sales rep. I think he thought I was hitting on him, which is hilarious for a lot of reasons, but you know, he was trying to come into town, and I was trying to get him to come see Hydrant Club and to get a chance to know the company a little better. And I think he thought I was hitting on him. Wanted to say, dude, like, even if I were interested in dudes, you're really not the type I'd be interested in, so get over yourself. But I didn't, and it was awkward, so I went with a different company. And I'm actually really happy with Primal Pets. The product is really great. I don't carry all of them. We tend to have we have a lot of dogs at Hydrant Club that have poultry allergies. No idea why. I have been told that when you're feeding a dog a raw diet, that often a lot of the allergies that have arisen for dogs come from the processing that the proteins go through. I don't know that I buy that. Having a dog that actually has a poultry allergy, I don't want to give him some raw, you know, a raw diet of chicken or duck or whatever, and then go through the 3-week process of getting him through the allergies and the skin itching and all of that. So a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about the food their dogs eat, and they completely forget everything else that the dog ingests. So anything that goes into your dog's mouth, you got to think about what ingredients are in it, and that includes chews and even toys to a certain degree, you know, because pieces of toys do break off. So you want to know what kind of materials are being used in the toys. But we're talking about food product today. So many of these food manufacturers do also have treats that they sell. So obviously, if you find a treat brand that you like, going with them is useful. Superior Farms is a treat company that I really, really like. I'm a big fan of Bocce. I'm a big fan of Butcher's Block. Used to be Heartland for bones and chews. Grandma, what's it called? Grandma something. I love the treats because the treats are actually consumable by humans, and sometimes if I'm stuck at the office late and I'm really hungry, I can like dip my hand into the treat box and have some dog treats. I've been known to do that before. There's a company called Whole Life Pet Foods. It's all dehydrated raw stuff. It's kind of like something you would get at Whole Foods. What else? So ingredients that you should avoid. So we talked about dogs being on grain-free diets. Corn, when dogs process corn, it processes really to sugar super fast in a dog's body, so it's kind of like giving a kid a bag of candy bars. If you have a hyperactive or super high drive dog and you're giving it really any grains, you're not doing your dog any favors. So I have a lot of folks who will come and their dogs are super high energy, like in the kind of crazy side. Adjusting the dog's diet, removing grains from the diet, putting it on clean proteins and clean vegetative matter diet can actually help balance out the dog's behavior quite a lot. So corn, wheat, soy. Wheat and soy can actually, result in like itchy skin and dogs being kind of just not feeling well. Kind of soft poops. Who likes that? What do you think, Carlo? I also just realized that I need to text somebody who I'm going to meet, which I can't do if I'm talking to you guys. So I think I'm gonna have to go. But that's it for now. So if you've got further questions or there's specific questions that you have about nutrition, please comment on this post. If there are foods that you love or treats that you love, please comment on this as well. Because what I'd like to do is, I've got a couple of nutritionists I've been talking to, and what I'd like to be able to do is have a live stream conversation with some other folks. So with some food and treat manufacturers. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go. I'm feeling generous today. I've got friends in the car. I need to behave. It's just because you guys are here. If you weren't, I'd probably be flipping the guy off. No, I don't do that with. Oh, really? Now he's gonna jam me up. See, that's what I get for being nice. So, yeah. So, yeah, comment on the post. Let me know what you think. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side.